You're All So Glorious, Chapter 2, Part 4. Hardly a few weeks later, her time at the manor having almost reached about a year, Lace gets sent back to the hospital for another surgery. This time it leaves a white patch on her outer thigh. Now that Lace is older and somewhat more secure, she remembers the entire experience with a distinctly sharper eye. She leaves the hospital feeling rubbery. Poking at the white string that extends across a large swath of her leg provokes the same feeling. Touching the area where she had gotten surgery a year earlier isn't dissimilar sensation-wise. Sacrificing a bit of her free time, Lace snaps up several medical textbooks and pores over them, searching for this mysterious disease that appears to afflict her. Just like the first time, she hadn't been told what exactly the surgery had been for. She'd simply been driven to the hospital as before and told to sit still and stop squirming. Most of what she finds has to do with vitiligo. Lace decides she doesn't have that. She'd only developed this white patch as a direct result of surgery. Further pictures of stitches and sutures look nothing like her skin. Although many of the people in the pictures are already white, they're not white enough that the vivid patch wouldn't be evident. The closest Lace can find is a bandage, but there's no removing the patch under her skin. Like the one on her arm, her own skin grows over it like a fungus, creeping towards the center until there's only a small square left. That one. She asks Widow, but receives only a glare in response and a whack to her palms, harder than usual. She asks her ballet teacher, whose knowledge of the body is quite vast, and in turn is forced to do it's French, relevé for the better part of an hour. It almost makes her cry. She doesn't ask either of them again. The house grows starker, more quiet and pale. Lace feels different, but she can't place it. She thinks about the pigeon once more, it having never really left her mind. Despite her young age and deliberate childhood forgetfulness, Lace's memory is fairly sharp for things she wants to remember. Dull grey feathers and someone with a snappish voice that's around her age. Closer to her age than anyone else, at least. Lace will take what she gets. When her skin gets somewhat close to better, a natural coloring having overtaken the white almost entirely, Lace starts searching for Phantom during her breaks. First, she checks the creekside where she first met them. There is not even a bird in the air. Then she checks around the property, around each bush and each flower pot. Nothing. It then occurs to Lace that Phantom had mentioned living in the manor, so therefore Phantom would likely have a room. Lace feels proud of herself for this conclusion and tromps off down the hallways in search of this room. Turns out it's not a hard room to find. Getting closer to the area Phantom was housed, completely opposite where Lace spent most of her time, revealed a genre of deliriously loud music that Lace had never heard before. She can't really say she likes it. It doesn't really appeal to her. There's a strange crashing noise. It does not seem to be quite on beat. A steady thudding noise, ceaseless in its rhythm. Locating the source of the music is even easier, Lace aided by the fact that the door from which the heavy music emanates is a stark black, the dye even staining the walls around it and the floor below it. Now that she's closer, Lace finds that the crashing noise appears to be unrelated to the music. It's a different vibration than the drums and bass line of the speaker music, more in the walls. Closer, too. And when the music temporarily pauses to switch tracks, the crashing continues. Hastily, Lace quietly knocks while the music is in transition, fearing she might not be heard otherwise. "Go away!" someone yells from inside. "I don't want to talk to you!" The voice trails off after into muttering, before something else crashes into the wall, and everything is swallowed once more by a new track of heavy metal. Curious, Lace presses her cheek against the door. It smells strongly of Sharpie. It sort of looks like Sharpie too, the thick kind with the nice highlighter-esque spread. It's me, Lace says, shouting now over the music. Me? Who the hell is me? Lace. Lace. You more than most. I don't want to see. Go away and don't come back. Lace waits for a second before she knocks again. Go away! Lace presses her mouth against the door so Phantom can hear her. Why do you paint your door black? The music stops. There's a loud, long silence. And then a click of the door mechanism, and then Lace falls face forward onto the ground, the door no longer supporting her weight. Go away, Phantom's silhouette says, voice deep and irritated, looming over Lace. What colors I paint my door are none of your business. If you don't leave, I'll report you to your tutors. I know they don't know you have a break, no matter what you insist. Lace looks up with wide eyes. Don't do that. It's not my life. Phantom remains firm in their thread. The earring, complete with their craft gemstone, swings deliberately from their ear. I don't care what happens in yours. I only care about what happens in mine. Lace's eyes slide down between the gap in Phantom's legs to the rest of the room. It's completely different from Lace's own. The walls are covered in an utter myriad of paint. Daffodil yellows and pitch blacks, carnation reds and sky blues. There are patterns that lead off into nothing, and weird-looking trees, all crooked and uneven. And there are a series of holes in the wall, each one punched straight through the overpainted wallpaper. A dull hammer on the ground tells a whole story on its own. Why are you destroying your room? Lace asks Phantom, bringing her gaze right up. Where do you get the hammer? I'm not telling you where I got the hammer, Phantom snaps. You're like 4 years old. 8! And it's my room, isn't it? I'll destroy it if I want to. It'll be around longer than I will be, that's for sure. I'm just going to fix it, Lace says wisely. Are you leaving soon? Lace. Shit. Phantom stares down at Lace for a while, looking almost a little lost. Then they shake their head, crueler expression returning. I'm not, they say. But you are. You're leaving my room right now. They put their foot on Lace's head, pushing her out of the door of the room, back into the hallway. And don't come back! The door slams, loud and reverberating. The music resumes, as does the pounding on the wall, which Lace can assume is being done by a hammer. For a while, Lace lays on the floor, staring up at the ceiling. She sort of likes the sensation of the vibrations of the music, the way they tickle her stomach and cheek across the floor. Even if Phantom was rude, Lace thinks that they can't be all bad. She thinks this in part because they're older, and thinks that, at the very least, they're the first person in the whole manor who had looked at her with anything but cruelty, even if just for a second. She thinks about knocking again, but then thinks about Phantom's threat. Eventually, though, she must return to her tutoring session. She's reluctant to do this, but does so anyway, fear of Widow's ruler greater than her curiosity of Phantom. She returns almost every day after, only taking occasional days off to go prancing around the property. Phantom never answers the door again. They just turn their music up louder. She asks Widow about it, eventually, carefully, near the beginning of their session together. The woman is more pleasant then. Phantom, Widow says, eyes narrowed for just a second, before they widen in realization, and she laughs, a hacking vocal sound. Is that what she's calling herself now? I wasn't even aware she was still alive. I suppose she's your sister, if you want to call her that. As your teacher, though, I will give you one word of advice. Don't go growing attached. That one's running on a time limit. What do you mean? Lace had asked. But Widow had only slapped the table and forced Lace to continue her recitation. So Lace had been forced to figure things out on her own. And figuring things out involved watching Phantom's room closely from a nearby hallway. They're quite good at not being seen, though. For several days straight, Lace misses them entirely when they leave, only seeing them return. It takes many weeks for Lace to catch Phantom outside once more, and it only happens by coincidence. Lace had happened to be glancing out a window at the time. She hurries out the door to follow them, trying her best to be as subtle as possible. She follows them past a line of trees into a valley, the grass covered in patches of cool clovers soft under her feet. They carry a large duffel that they place under the shade of a tree. From within they withdraw a sword, thin and narrow, with a guard that flares out into a thick handle, allowing for sufficient grip. And there once more is Phantom, a sword in hand. They begin to move through poses, all super cool like some sort of action character. "Wow," Lace says, making Phantom startle. They narrow their eyes when they see her. "Is that a real sword?" "Of course it's real," Phantom snaps after looking around and finding no exit. No exit. "It's a saber. Don't call it a sword." "It's a sword," Lace says defiantly. "A saber is curved." "Are you thinking of a scimitar, you little idiot?" Lace shrinks back a little. Phantom visibly hesitates, closing their open mouth. They scratch the back of their neck. "It's a saber," they say in a more normal voice. "A fencing saber." "That's cool," Lace says hesitantly. She's not quite sure what to make of Phantom's face. "Look, you probably need to go. Seriously." "Why?" "Nobody's going to like you hanging around me." "Why?" "I'm crazy." You don't seem crazy to me." Lace thinks of the holes in the walls. "Well, not very." Lace. Fuck. Phantom gives a half shrug. "It's what I am," they say. "You'll get in trouble for being around me. They still haven't caught you sneaking out." "I guess not. You're here in front of me." "Well, they will eventually, and when they do, it's not me you'll want to be caught with." "What's so wrong with you? You seem fine," Lace says, tilting her head. "You have a pigeon." Phantom gives her a very strange look, lips slightly parted, lines drawn between their eyes. It's confusing. It's confusion, strangely written in a language Lace doesn't know. "A pigeon doesn't make someone good," they say slowly. "It's generally considered crazier to talk to wild animals than to not. People with animals that like them are usually nice," Lace says. "And it's a pigeon." Pigeons can have diseases. Above them, the pigeon swoops through the sky. Lace shields her eyes against the sun, looking up at it with a thin squint. "It doesn't look diseased," Lace says. Phantom sighs. The saber droops in their hand like a frost-tainted plant. "You're very annoying," they observe consideringly. "What if I told you I did something very bad? Would you leave me alone?" Lace is still watching the pigeon do loops in the sky, a little speckled silhouette with a sleek, narrow body, unmoving against the force of its own wings. "Then, let's say, I killed someone." Lace looks down. "That's pretty bad," Lace says seriously. "But I don't think you did that. I think you're lying. You'd have to be in jail if you did that." "That's true," Phantom says with mock seriousness. "And you're right. I did something far worse. I failed all my classes and skipped so many of them, teacher gave up on me entirely. And now I'm out here, living this miserable life." They gesture to the open expanse of the air, the wide blue sky, and the flowing green grass. "That sounds fine," Lace decides. "I'll be okay with that then." "No." Phantom drops their face, clearly frustrated. "You don't want to be like me. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to make this better." And their voice raises once more, their fist clenched around the saber. "You won't be okay with it. You're just a baby. You don't understand." Lace resents being called a baby. She's 8, not a baby. A child, but not a baby. And nobody treats her like one either. "I'm not," she says, folding her arms. "And I don't want to go to lessons. I'll be just like you when I grow up." Phantom looks at her. Their face is utterly miserable. "Go away," they mutter eventually, turning away. "If you're going to be like me, do it somewhere else. I don't want to see it." The pigeon zigzags through the sky. It flies close enough to them that Lace can hear it coo before it launches off again, flapping its wings frantically. "Can I pet the pigeon?" she asks Phantom, who pauses in their motion to look at Lace disdainfully. "It's not a creature that comes on demand," Phantom says, voice still dull. "Ask him yourself." "It's a pigeon," Lace says. "So?" Phantom poses their feet again, blades cutting a stark line through the blue sky. "It's still an animal. You and I are both animals. We're far more trapped than he'll ever be." Lace squints. "Trapped in a manner?" She recalls the place she had used to be. It's cold, dark, and dirty, and she'd rather never return. The manor is far better. She eats fairly well, usually, and is allowed outside. It's much better. "Yes," Phantom says. "Nothing you do will ever stick." They look down at their saber. "It's all painted over and over again, like you've never been there at all. You'll be the same soon enough." "I'm here, though," Lace says. "Hardly," Phantom dismisses. "Who else knows you're here? Who else cares? You got a real mother? I doubt it. She's either dead or doesn't give a fuck about you. You're here because no one will miss you. Nothing else." Lace balls her fists, tiny nails like ants across her skin. "You're being mean," she bursts, anger like a whip. "My mummy loved me, and mother loves me too. She will when she comes back." "You're delusional then," Phantom snorts. "More so than even I. Wake up, child. You're no daughter." Just then, the pigeon settles on a nearby tree, rattling the dry branches with their descent. It chirps and coos, catching both of their attention. "I would like to pet it," Lace says again, very seriously returning to her original request. "Can't you make it? Isn't it yours?" Phantom shoots her a weary look. "It's not," they say. "It's my brother's." "Brother? We have a brother?" "I have a brother. You have no one. Besides, he's not here anymore. He gave the pigeon to me." "So you have the pigeon now," Lace says. "It's basically yours. Can't you call it down?" "I can," Phantom mutters reluctantly. Lace stares at them expectantly, excited. Phantom thins their eyes. They let out a slight huff of air. They whistle once, and the pigeon rises from the trees, wings like soft cotton as they settle on Phantom's shoulder. "He might nip you," Phantom says. They're a little more approachable with with a pigeon on their shoulder. "Watch out." Slowly, the pigeon is passed to Lace's waiting arms. She gasps in joy, the thing small enough to be cupped between her palms. Its bones are fragile, delicate and shifting, as it finds its balance in Lace's tiny hands. It's quite sweet. It rubs its head against her arm like a cat, warm as a boiled egg, content as a sunbathing lizard. "It's cute," Lace says delightedly. "It's super cute. Does it have a name?" There's a long pause. "Wraith," Phantom says shortly. "But we don't call him that. That was our brother's name for him." "What happened to our brother?" Phantom's face shudders. "Who knows?" they mutter. "Probably the same that will happen to me. The same thing that will happen to you once you finally fail." He was discarded. Discarded, Lace considers. She rubs her fingers along the pigeon's head, careful not to let it lose its balance. "Not me. I'll be perfect." "Perfect's not something you can be," Phantom says. "Not in a way that will prevent you from being discarded. It's what we were made to do." Lace furrows her brow, rubbing the pigeon's head between her fingers. "Wraith. What an odd name. Aggressive for such a cute creature." "Then why are you here?" Lace asks. "Instead of discarded. I thought you were my sister." Phantom jerks their head in Lace's direction. "I am not your sister, and I'm here because I'm waiting for my life to end. It's not immediate. This is like a purgatory, waiting to decide if you're bound for heaven or hell." "Oh," Lace replies. She doesn't know many of these words, nor what to make of them altogether. She thinks Phantom knows something mystical that she doesn't. She peers up at Phantom. "Well, teacher said you were my sister." Phantom pauses. The eyes cut a line to Lace, as piercing as a laser, as puzzled as a daze. "She's just being bitchy," they say. "Do what you want. I don't care." But teacher said, your teacher is a terrible person, Phantom says. She's as complicit as anyone else in this household, and she knows full well I'm not a girl. Lace doesn't know what complicit means. When she asks, Phantom pins her with a nasty look. It means that she doesn't care who she's teaching as long as she gets a paycheck, Phantom says. She was my teacher too, you know. You still see her sticking around me? No, Lace says. Maybe you were a bad student, though. This makes Phantom mad. Their face flares, and they fling their saber forward, making Lace flinch back. I'll teach you one thing that teacher's never going to tell you, they snarl. You're as important and as irreplaceable as the next link in the chain. The only part they care about is the end. No amount of sucking up is ever going to save you. 1 billion people around you, and no one is ever going to help you. Lace stares with wide eyes, wrapping her arms tight around her midsection. Phantom withdraws, brow still furrowed with anger. But they look guilty now too, just as they had the first time Lace had flinched back. Conflicted, tormented. They raise a finger and shake it in Lace's face. Remember that, they say. They leave right after, marching off, knuckles white against their saber. The pigeon launches itself out of Lace's palms and goes with them, wings cutting white and grey across the blue sky.